All right, we'll get started for the December 16th, or actually, it's December, I wish, October 16th. I know, it's so much like we're pushing it. City Council meeting, the clerk will call the roll, record those who are in attendance.
Anderson Burgos. Bartley.
Here.
Bresnahan. Leahy.
Present.
LeBron Martinez.
Here.
Lisi. McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Roman. Sullivan.
Here.
Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Valentine. Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
in the city of Holyoke.
And the city council.
The Red Sox.
Before we get started, we have a special guest. The City Council voted unanimously to give a citation out. Councilor Bartley will escort our guest in, and we'll hand this out to a very important gentleman that we all know. As he comes up, this proclamation by the City Council for Ed Case. I know Councilor Bartley will talk on his behalf, but for me, I've known Ed for quite some time, and he's not a stranger to us because he did all the neighborhood watch programs within every ward. And just a wealth of knowledge and a man that's very dedicated to the city of Holyoke, safer streets. I can't say enough about him. And a friend to all of us. So, Councilor Bartley, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, President McGee. Thank you, Madam Clerk Brenna Murphy McGee, for signing this. Thank you to all the city councilors who passed this unanimously. I don't think we really need much of an introduction for Ed Case for those of you that are here. This proclamation reads, be it resolved, the Holyoke City Council extends its congratulations to Ed Case, should be Eddie Case, is right, we should have had, in recognition of his tireless work on behalf of Holyoke's youth, public schools, and businesses. I think any of us who receive his myriad emails, and you see all the effort he puts into all the organizations which he advocates before, we're so lucky to have somebody like Eddie. Two things. One is I was introduced to him by my friend and your friend, former Ward 2 Councilor Tony Soto. I want to thank Tony Soto. Also, I want to thank the Sheriff of Hampden County, Nick Cochee, who sent me a text. He could not be here tonight, but he couldn't be more delighted for Eddie Case. So without further ado, Eddie Case.
Thank you. I accept this on behalf of me, but honestly, I accept it on behalf of the Holyoke Safe Neighborhood Initiative because we really are a collaboration. I want to thank the sheriff and the police chief, Eileen Kavanaugh, Boys and Girls Club is our physical agent for the initiative, and all the different agencies. I mean, geez, we had 243 kids in the summer basketball league. We're anticipating 250 to 300 in this winter league. We have about 60 to 70 volunteers from all different places. We couldn't do it without the school department, without the volunteers. So this really is to everyone that's part of the Holyoke Safe Neighborhood Initiative, and I see many people out there that are really part of the team. So thank you so much.
Now, to make it a true recognition, he did say he's a diehard Red Sox fan, and they are on right now. Motion to adjourn would be in order. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Couple points before we get started. Councilor Anderson Burgos gave me a call. He is under the weather. He cannot make it tonight. He wanted to come, but I told him, based on the way you sound, it's don't worry. The other thing is, I'd asked for a moment of silence. A colleague of ours, a friend of ours, former councilor, city councilor Diosdado Lopez, lost his mother. He's leaving tomorrow to go to Puerto Rico. I tried to touch base with him. We played phone tag, but he did confirm that he is leaving tomorrow. He'll be back on Saturday. Also, a friend of ours, as we know, Dennis Honenberg, his brother unfortunately passed away. He was a member of the Holyoke High School, graduated in '81, then went to Holyoke Community College, was a passionate person about Holyoke, and unfortunately we lost him around Labor Day weekend. So I want to recognize both of them. Councilor Lisi.
I just want to also note that Dennis's brother did a lot for Holyoke Youth and Scholarship Fund to get into UMass, so I think it was an important. Okay, thanks.
So I ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much. With that, laid on the table, item number 1, with regards to the, looks like the taxi cab licenses, we're still waiting on those, or no response from? Has he responded, or? I think they wanted him to come in to address it. Yeah. Well, it'll be up to the council. Do you want to act on what's laid on the table, or? All right. Item number 2, from the Ordinance Committee, whom was referred in order that the City Council adopt the ordinance required City Council approval. This is the Muni Code. Any
I
action on
didn't
this?
see the legal form yet.
All right, so it's here, or no?
We have it?
Motion removed from the table.
Second?
Motion is to remove item number 2. This is with regards to the Muni Code and fixing the, as we've kind of called it, the Scribner's error with regards to leases, with regards to property for the city of Holyoke. Motion would be to,
So I'll make the motion to remove it from the table.
motion is removed from the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And I would make the motion to receive the legal form and adopt and put it into the Muni Code.
Motion is to receive, adopt, and put it into Muni Code to fix that error. Would you need a roll call for this?
Yep.
Clerk will call the roll. I do believe we polled, or actually Peter polled, so don't blame me. Counselor Valentin, you're first, okay? Clerk call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for it. If you vote no, you're voting against it.
Valentine?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Bresnahan?
Yes.
Leahy?
Yes.
LeBrun Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes?
McGivern?
Yes. Yes.
Roman? Sullivan?
Yes.
Tolman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the Muni Code update. Public comment, we only have one, unless there's other members of the audience that might have missed the board. It is Dennis Burks from 18 West Glen Street. School
Good
committee
evening.
member.
I'm Dennis Burks, 18 West Glen Street, also on the school committee. First, I'd like to thank you for your support in the beginning phases of building the 2 new middle schools here in Holyoke. Your support is greatly appreciated. Secondly, I am here to ask you for your continued support in appropriating the funds necessary to do the schematic design up at the PEC site. This is important work that we're doing, and your support is greatly appreciated. Thirdly, I would like to let you know about a community forum that is happening on October 25th from 6 to 8 at the Holyoke Public Library. It's a forum around the building of the 2 new middle schools. And we'll be discussing where we are now in the design phase, and input from you all and people in the community is welcomed and very important. So thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no other people signed up for public comment, so off to communications. Item number 3, a communication from the mayor, a letter appointing Mark Cutting for the HEDIC, which will expire June 30th, 2021. It is an
It's a
appointment.
new appointment, Mr. President.
Receive and refer to public service.
Motion is received and
Second.
referred to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Number 4 is from the mayor, a letter with regards to the $390,000 request for the school building project.
Motion to receive.
Motion is to receive. Everyone
to
did get a
finance.
copy. Send it to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Number 5 is from the mayor, a letter regarding a veto of the sign ordinance.
Be received?
Motion receive and motion to override the veto.
Motion is to
Second.
receive and override the veto. It was seconded. Under discussion, or
Sure, if you want.
Counselor Bartley?
Yeah, we've been around this several times, so I'll be as brief as I can on this issue. If we're not about ideas, then we're about nothing. The way you get to a conclusion on a matter is you have, in our process, is we have public debate. For this particular matter, we had to have public hearings. We had 10 such public hearings. 7 in planning, we had 3 in city council, in ordinance committee, plus we had open time when you come to the microphone before a city council meeting. Can you count how many times the mayor came and expressed his opinion relative to this ordinance during those 11 opportunities? Exactly 0. Not one time did the mayor inject his opinion relative to this ordinance change. Not one time. My father, who many of you might know, but for those who don't, my father was a state representative from Holyoke for 14 years, and he became Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives from 1969 to 1975. He made it very clear to me when I came here, it is much easier to kill something than to pass it. We've seen that so many times over the years here. So what the mayor did was not participate in the debate where we can have an exchange of ideas. What the mayor did was write a 1.5-page single-spaced letter citing 3 easily refutable suggestions as to why this should not pass. So now we have to go through this again. It passed unanimously, 12-0. We had 1 absent last meeting. Passed unanimously at the last meeting. What this does not do, this does not limit free speech. It does not fine anybody. It does not require a fee. It simply asks people to register signs for a certain period. What this also does is take what is now an unconstitutional law on our books, our ordinance relative to temporary signs violates the U.S. Constitution. That's according to the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court. We violate the U.S. Constitution. So with the law department's incredible guidance and assistance, we wrote an ordinance, which I think will be a model, which now adheres to constitutional law. But the mayor wants to veto that. Now, I don't know why he does what he does. I just wish he would come and engage us so we could talk things out. But he doesn't. Writes a letter, vetoes it, and here we are. So with that, I humbly ask for your support and consideration of overriding this veto. Thank you, Mr. President.
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you, Mr. President. I join the maker of this order in asking my colleagues to support this ordinance. We did a lot of due diligence on it. Our goal was to make it non-punitive, and I'm hoping that the department would simply put a 1-page form online that people could just fill out and send in online, and that it wouldn't have to be a problem of any sort to anybody. So I urge my colleagues to confirm this ordinance. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, the clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to override the veto. If you vote no, you're voting against.
Valentine?
No.
Bartley?
Yes.
Bresnahan?
Yes.
Leahy? LeBron Martinez?
No.
Lisi?
No.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Roman?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
9 yeas, 3 nays.
Thank you.
With your vote, you voted to override the veto.
Mr. President,
Councilor President.
could we suspend the rules and take 15C out of order, please? With the blessing of the chair.
Motion is to go out of order and take up 15C. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The Committee on Finance has referred that the City Council appropriate the amount of $390,000 for the purpose of, and this is the school projects.
Make a motion to receive, pass the first reading.
Second.
Motion is to receive, pass the first reading. Our discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Council President. The Committee on Finance met twice on the issue of middle schools in the past month. We made the report at our last City Council meeting about the findings and the progress of why a middle school, a second middle school as opposed to one middle school makes sense. Just a reminder to everybody that about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, or probably a year and a half ago, we did approve $880,000 for the schematic design and research of a middle school for the city of Holyoke, under the reasoning that the K through 8 doesn't work, which was implemented about, I believe, 15 or 16 years ago. This second proposal came to us 3 meetings ago with the request to consider making that 2 middle schools for the same amount of students, but dividing the 1,100 proposed student body into 550 into 2 separate middle schools. The first meeting took place, and we talked about the reasons why and how the concept of why it was necessary, and why not only do the subcommittee on finance believe it now, but we heard from the developers, we heard from the superintendent of schools, we heard from the construction people, we heard from the architects, we heard, more important, from parents, we heard from school committee members, that this is something that they believe and honestly believe that is the right thing to do. So the second meeting was focused more on not two-part, the affordability. What we're voting on this evening is adding an additional $390,000 to the $808,800 that we've already approved. The $880,000 is and was for the middle school at what is known as the Chestnut site, which would be near the Lawrence School. The $390,000 would add the Peck School site into play and come up with a design that would make sense for a second middle school to be at that site. So we talked about the affordability. The $390,000, if we approve it this evening, would allow the city to go forward with that schematic design and with the proposal to bring back what would eventually, be able to tell us what the cost for the project, the final cost for the project would be. The $390,000 is 80% reimbursable, as is the $808,000 is reimbursable, and at 80%. So the $390,000 would cost us an additional $78,000, probably over a 30-year period, depending on how we do the financing for the project itself. But this immediate bond would be, for a 30-year period. So the Finance Committee, along with the testimony that we took in, agree that 2 middle schools make sense. There's a couple good caveats that go with 2 middle schools. The Doctor's Right did tell us that there would be at least, or probably, 2 schools that would be closed in the reconfiguration. A savings would be met by closing 2 schools. Without going into a dollar figure, we talked about which schools, and it's too early to tell, but like example 1 could be Metcalf. The possibility of developing Metcalf would always be there. The possibility of using Metcalf for the administrative offices would be there. There are a lot of options that it would take place. But the savings would be in the the facility costs of keeping the two elementary schools open, and certainly with consolidating schools, you save on administrative costs in terms of the people who run the schools from principals on down. So we feel it's a good idea at this point. We did take the discussion one step further. It is not what we're voting on this evening, but I think in transparency, it's important to understand. There's more than one option for funding the final project. At the moment, the mayor talked about a debt exclusion override. He believes that is the best and fairest way to fund the project. A number of people on the finance committee, if not all of us, expressed a concern about that. A second option is the more streamline of bonding, borrowing money. Interest rates are still pretty low. We have a communication from my city financial advisor, Cinder, I always mess her last name up, Mr. President, McNeary. And, you know, she points out that even though the debt option, the override is a possibility, you know, that the rates are low and the option still is there for borrowing on a 20, 30-year bond type deal. One thing we learned through this process, and I hope everyone will join me, and I'm not too sure how we can correct this, but we are facing a situation as a gateway city being automatically qualified for 80% reimbursement by the MBSA. 80% is something that used to be 90% for us. It's something that, you know, I think is fundamental to the type of community that we are. That also being that we have the lowest income ratio per capita in the entire Commonwealth. There are several gateway communities that are in the same predicament, and it's happening here with the MBSA's formula for reimbursement, and it's starting to happen with our Chapter 70 monies, which is, I don't want to stray here, Mr. President, but there's a serious problem of how that formula is being dealt with by the legislature, and the lack of money is going back to gateway communities and the communities that need it the most. So what has happened is the MBSA caps the construction cost every year. The cap that has been in place for this year in the cost of construction could bring us down to 60% instead of 80%, or even as low as 58, 59%. In the package that were handed out 2 weeks ago, you can see some of these numbers of other communities that have faced this and what they've been reimbursed as opposed to the 80% itself. I hope that we can correct that wrong injustice that is being dealt on the gateway communities. And I want to give you one example. We do not qualify for what is known. There are 5 incentives that would allow a community to up their reimbursement percentage. Because we're considered an 80% community, we don't qualify for any incentives. If we're not getting 80%, how are we an 80% community? You know, because of the cap on construction costs. It makes absolutely no sense, except it's happening again in Boston, where the legislature is ruling out and ruling over the gateway communities who deal with low-income housing, who deal with low-income families, and who have to deal with this. And yet, it's been time and time again, lawsuits have been filed, lawsuits have been won, but the numbers in Boston dictate for the wealthier communities, and they want to ignore doing the right thing for the gateway communities. This is just the 2 examples of what's happening in Boston. I don't know if we're going to end up in a lawsuit on Chapter 70s, but I think we have to act quickly on this, get our state delegation, get all the state delegations together and ask them why we can only qualify for 60% because of the cap on construction costs, when we should be close to that 80% plus figure, and it also should have the right to have the incentives that other communities do. Tonight, it's $390,000. It makes sense to go to 2 middle schools as opposed to 1. There's a lot more work to be done, a lot more questions that were asked, and we have answers, but tonight it's on the appropriate vote, we believe, as a Committee on Finance, is to pass the $390,000 and go to the 2 middle schools.
Councilor Bartley?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks to the chairman for actually, Joe, you were concise this time, so I really appreciate that. You were on point.
That's excellent.
Still wasn't brief, but.
No, there's a lot, Danny's a lot there, and he really summarized it beautifully, I thought. One thing I just want to point out, At the last Finance Committee meeting, I know one of the school committee men was disappointed there weren't more counselors here, but there is an invention called television, and there's this new invention called television, and we have this new invention called cable channel 15. So I was able to watch the entire hearing. So to that school committee man who was disappointed more of us weren't here, we have a brand new invention. Beyond that, we can also video stream it down the road, Mr. President. So I want to point that out to the school committee man. I also, and none of that school committee man is not in attendance tonight. I want to thank the wards 1, 3, 4, 7, and at-large school committee people for being here, for their advocacy, as per usual. I am going to support this, Mr. President, but with the following caveats, that that as President, strike that, as third time lucky, as Chairman McGivern pointed out, we're not getting 80%. We're not even close to that. What was pointed out by President McGee, but a lot of us were aware of it, in the Finance Committee meeting, is that we don't have site control of one of the two sites. Half of that enormous lot is controlled by our friends at the diocese. Now, the good news is this 300, as the, I think it's Mrs. Margaret Wood is her name. If I'm wrong, please correct me, Mr. President. Came to the microphone and said the bulk of this $390,000 is to study what's happening at Peck School. So, as President McGee pointed out, yeah, which is true, we, the city of Holyoke, controls Peck School. So we can make a decision there. We do not control what's going on over Chestnut Street. And yet we have a proposal before us to spend $55 million for two schools on a site we don't control. Well, obviously that's impossible. And as President McGee rightly pointed out, geez, if I'm the ordinary of Springfield, which is the bishop, and I'm thinking that the city of Holyoke wants to build on land that I own, would it not behoove me to maybe get into negotiations a little more firm? And you've already seen how the diocese negotiates as we blasted that proposal out of the water for Monte Della Rosa, which was a slap in the face to every single taxpayer of Holyoke. That passed 9-0. If I remember, I know it passed unanimously, but I believe it was nine of us here that night for a special meeting. That's how hard they negotiate. So the answer from the mayor was, well, we're going to get to it. Okay. I take him at his word. But we're getting pushed on this by the consultants in the Mass School Building Authority. We're getting pushed. This has got to happen. Well, when are we going to get site control? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's just a vital piece. And as a chairman of Finance Committee, that summation, Joe, was excellent. Rightly pointed out, that's going to be the 390R, the city's portion, the 20% is going to be wrapped into a bond over 30 years. We can't bond for the buildings. We have to do a debt exclusion, which that's just a fancy term for an override. It's nothing but a fancier term for an override vote. The debt exclusion, $55 million. That will send the commercial rate over 40. That will send the residential rate way over 20. I mean, we can have the debate and we can talk about it and the voters are going to decide, but that's going to be a decision we have to get real about this. That's a decision that's going to have to be made by the voters. And while I have my reservations about it, I've really been considering my opinion on that, and it probably is the best thing to do. But for right now, Mr. President, I do support this with the caveat that the finance chairman made and the ones that you made in finance the other night. I just want to reiterate them here for the record. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon?
Thank you, Mr. President. On a point of information, do we have our free cash certified yet for the city?
Councilor McGivern.
We do not. I did talk to the acting auditor, to our auditor this afternoon. The state is still sending back questions. He said nothing to be alarmed about at this point, but they're still looking for, to dot some I's and cross some T's. But he's hoping that in the very near future that it will be certified.
Thank you. On the matter before us, I also was able to watch the Finance Committee meeting in the comfort of my rocking chair instead of this chair. I'm really concerned about the site control issue, and my understanding of the price tag is it's 55 to 60 million per school.
Total.
Is that correct?
No, our portion is 55 million.
Oh, you're talking our portion.
Yeah, the city's portion is
But the-
55 million.
But the total cost per
Oh.
school is 60 million each.
Oh, yes, you're right, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear what we're talking about. I just find it really concerning. I think the money we've spent so far is just increasing the value of the land the diocese owns, and I just think we're putting ourselves in a corner on that lot. I have huge misgivings about that, but thank you.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yep, thank you. Just want to point out to everybody that this is a really rare opportunity that the state will go forward with two projects at the same time. So I think it's important that we go ahead and get this second phase underway. It doesn't happen. It happens very rarely. Also, we need to get this in place. The funding, all the discussions of the funding can happen later. There's other means to accomplish this other than going to a debt exclusion override, and we need to start getting our heads around that. I know tonight's not the time or place for that, but everybody talks about 20 and 30-year bonds. There's 50-year bonds, there's 100-year bonds. These are areas that need to be explored. There's savings on the school budget side of somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 to $5 million. There's quite a few different other angles to be explored. We need the time to do that, but we can't do any of that unless we could do it on one school. But we really need to get going on the second project, stay on schedule with this, and move forward.
Counselor Lisi.
Thank you. I just wanted to see if either our superintendent, the receiver of schools, or the chief of staff from the mayor's office would like to add to any of the points that were raised.
So motion is to suspend the
necessary
rules to allow Doctors Reich and/or Rory or legal to speak on this.
Yeah, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Rory's here.
Thank you. Yep. So I can give an update on site control because I do know that's an issue that Councilor McGee raised, and obviously something that's very important and crucial. The MSBA will not approve this if we don't actually have site control. So I can give you some of the facts. One of those is that the asking price that the diocese has on that land, if it was a private transaction, is $140,000. So that is the ceiling. We know that it's not going to go up from there. The appraisal that we have on that land is going to be in our hands tomorrow. We've ordered an appraisal of that land, which for all of you who have been here and have taken part in eminent domain, which is most likely, it could be a friendly taking, but still eminent domain. The way that goes, the first thing is we need an appraisal. We're going to have that in hand tomorrow. We had, if folks remembered, as part of the Mata de la Rosa conversation, been looking at this land in partnership with the Housing Authority to potentially purchase this, because the Housing Authority has plenty of cash on hand. They own other parcels on that same block. We also own parcels on that block. We're continuing that conversation with the Housing Authority because there's other land that the city owns through tax title or what have you, that the Housing Authority is interested in to enhance their own portfolio of land. So we're probably still looking at a situation where it could be the Housing Authority itself that pays cash for the land and then go in front of the council. All of this would have to come in front of the council, probably twice, where then we would transfer land that we have. So at the end of the day, there's a chance that it may only cost us land that we own rather than any dollars. If that wasn't the case, we'd be in front of the council with an eminent domain friendly taking. The diocese understands why we want this land. The diocese has indicated to us they have no interest in this land for religious purposes. They've communicated that to the parishioners in the area because that was something that was on the table at one point. So as far as site control goes, we should have something, I don't want to say within 2 weeks, because I don't want to set an expectation that we can't meet. I can tell you that once we get the appraisal in hand tomorrow, the very next call is going to be to the diocese to begin that conversation. And ultimately, whatever decision the mayor makes on how to move forward in acquiring this land, it will be coming back to the council and having that conversation with all of you. And I would like to really appreciate the comments that have been made so far, especially Councilor Sullivan's, about the unique opportunity that we have right now. The MSBA doesn't approve 2 schools, and it's important to note there is not 1 square foot of adequate middle school space in the entire district. And the fact they're going to allow us to build 2 new middle schools for 1,100 students is really something that's a once-in-a-generation opportunity. We're going to have conversations about how to fund them. We're going to have conversations, plenty of conversations down the road. All we're talking about tonight is the $390,000 appropriation. We will get the full 80% reimbursement for that. I appreciate Councilor McGivern's concerns as well as the other concerns Council raised about what a city like Holyoke will actually get reimbursed. But that's all that's on the table tonight, and I can promise you that within the next month or 2, the site control question will be resolved. It's a process, and we all understand that process, and the appraisal is the first part in that process. And I'm here to answer any questions. Superintendent Steve Zrake is here. We also have members of the school building committee that are here in case there's any other questions that need to be answered.
Councilor Lisi, you all set, or?
I'm all set. I mean, really, it's an open invitation to see if Dr. Zreich or legal had anything else to add to the points that were raised. It's not necessary, but if you think that you could add something.
I'll just say I just appreciate the support. I think what's been said, it sums up, how I feel about this project. And I know as Rory said, there's going to be a lot more discussion. Tonight, we're just asking and appreciate the support to move forward with a schematic design work at Peck School. So thank you again for your support.
Councilor Bresnahan?
Yeah, real brief. I'm absolutely in support of this. I mean, on the cusp of, we're tearing down Lynch. I mean, I think we have to send a message to the parents of not only Holyoke children, but children in other communities that we care about. We care about our schools. I went to Kelly School. Went to Kelly School was the first school, brand new school, and we were fascinated by it. It was just a state of the art. It's antiquated now, but I mean, you go to other communities and they got smart boards and they got all this stuff. I mean, that's an education where people will not be sending their kids to private school or out on a bus to send them to Hatfield and Hadley. This is an opportunity where we can keep local kids home. This might help some of the money that we're giving to other school districts. I mean, it's a schematic. $390,000, I get it. It's a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, I get it. But for God's sakes, if we don't invest in the kids and education in City Holyoke, there'll be nothing left, absolutely nothing. So I know we're all basically for this, but for those of you tinkering, it's like, do you want, you know how many kids are going to Hadley schools and Hatfield schools? There's so many of them, they're carpooling together. One parent takes 10 kids, and the other parent the next day takes another 10 kids. It's like our youth is leaving. And so, if we can tell the community and tell the world and tell the state of Massachusetts, we're going to build some brand new schools and it's going to be state of the art. Maybe you want to keep your kids in our district so we're not spending millions of dollars giving it to other communities.
Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you. Just in regards to the acquisition piece, and I really didn't want to go to this. I'd really like to focus on getting this survey to the next phase, but if we're moving that fast with the acquisition, we brought that up tonight, I'd really like to caution everybody, and I've done this in our committee meetings, I've done this at the school building committee meetings, and I want to make sure everybody in the public is aware and everybody pays attention. That property, there was a fire there. Several buildings burned. Debris was pushed into the cellar holes. I know that phase 1 environmentals have been done. Asbestos in the ground, as we learned at Parsons, You're not going to find that until you dig, okay? And I don't believe that's been addressed. Rory, can you?
Yeah, if I could,
Yep.
I can tell you that, and Dory, correct me if I'm wrong, we've already procured the contractor that's going to do that very testing. It may even be underway as we speak within weeks, and I can tell you, and this is something I was just conferring with school committee Kershane about, absolutely, the conditions
Yep.
of that site, what is in that soil, will have a detrimental effect on any value. What that effect is, we can't speculate on, but you are spot on, and this is certainly something, and it's one of the reasons that we're so happy that you've joined the committee, because you have that level of expertise to help guide us.
Well, I'm willing to bet.
Yeah.
Right here for everybody, right?
Yeah.
That we should be offering the diocese a chance to pay us to take that property off their hands. All right.
We'll have you at the table, how about that?
I'll be glad to.
Yeah.
Counselor Leahy?
I say we gave the diocese nothing. That church burned down, the insurance money left, the insurance money should have stayed in the city of Holyoke. It did not. They closed down Holyoke Catholic. Holyoke Catholic has beautiful condos. I say we gave them zero. Thank you.
Counselor Bartley? do you have-
Yeah, I'm somewhere between Counselor Leahy and Counselor Sullivan on what I want to pay the Diocese of Springfield. Certainly not $140,000 by eminent domain. I'm hopeful that, boy, I would love to see Bishop Rosansky walking on that lot and talk about his dreams for the future of that lot. I'd love to hear it. It'd be just more nonsense, because that's what we get out of the guy relative to MD, just total nonsense. But with costs that they have to incur, especially with insurance and liability things. Before I forget, I want to congratulate Rory on his 5 years of service. We all got a letter that he's resigning in a month. So Rory, congratulations on your new job. Sorry, I forgot to mention earlier, but congratulations. So, and to my other friends, I feel like we're almost talking about the police budget. This is not about personalities. It's not about the school kids of Holyoke. Yes, to a person here, we support the school children of Holyoke and the parents of Holyoke, most especially the teachers who teach our school kids. I'd love to see us pay them a better wage. That's who we support. But when we're talking about our portion of the deal, as Councilor McGivern rightly pointed out, $55 million. It's going to have to come from somewhere through a debt exclusion. Well, Councilor Sullivan mentioned a few other options. Are they on the table? And I know we've heard the rhetoric about, this once in a generation, opportunity about 2 new schools. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess I feel warm and fuzzy about that, Mr. President. But yes, I would definitely want to build a new school. But why does it have to be 2? Why can't it be 1 now and then 1 10 years from now? I'm not even sure if that's been proposed, but that's just a very daunting number, $55 million, whether it's spread out over 30 or 3,000 years. That is a daunting number for Holyoke taxpayers. So I'm hopeful we'll just give it consideration. But relative to this tonight, Mr. President, as I said, I'm on board and I fully support it.
On the motion.
Hold on, Counselor McGivern.
Actually, Mr. President, I was going to say all options are open until we take our final vote, but tonight on the motion.
Let's see here. So this is for the 390, just some clarification points. I do believe, from what we were informed in that meeting, 20,000 of this goes towards the review of the site to see if there's contamination, which will help with the cost. And then when that does happen, we all know, once they do find it, it will drive down the value. If they want to give it to us, we know they can do that. With regards to Ms. Woods and everyone else, I will stand up for them. They have been upfront with me, finance, and everyone else from day one. Email communications, phone calls, no pushing. I'm not saying anyone's saying anything negative, but I want to be very clear. They have been right up front, very open, and very helpful in this process. The cost is the cost. It's 2 new schools. I think one thing that was pointed out, which should be taken into note, is it is pricey, but you're getting 2 schools for the city of Holyoke, of which you're losing schools, tearing them down. And the cost of the two schools is less than a couple of this one school that's built in Boston. So you're getting two, in essence, for price one. I know it's still a cost. We'll deal with that cost. But this city hasn't seen a new school since Dean, which is in the 80s. We're due. And it's not about, oh, it's for the students and make that passionate plea, but we have to start giving our kids something better. Go into the schools, take a tour. They deserve better. So for me, I've always been in support of the schools. I know it's costly. Councilor Sullivan and everyone else has brought up other options. We will debate those. With regards to the whole thing about the diocese and everything else, I just brought it up because there's a timeline. Once again, the state and everyone else has been very cordial about what the time is. If we miss the February 2019 deadline, doesn't mean we're out of the game. It just means it gets pushed back another 3-6 months. So you want to kind of meet the deadlines in order to keep the thing moving correctly. So they're not pushing us to do something. There's telling what timelines are, of which I did ask, in order to then go forward correctly, you have to own the site. I wasn't trying to make it a negative. I was just bringing up an issue, which now there's a push to ultimately get that done. Whatever the ultimate ruling is or options that we have, we'll see that. It's going to come down the line, but just keep everyone on the same page. So with that, we do have hopefully 2 new schools coming into the city of Holyoke. It's going to be costly. We're going to find ways to account for that, but to not go forward with, in essence, what the state is really offering, I think we should take a step back and look at it. So with that, if there's no other discussion, clerk will call, well, actually, motion is passed the first reading, so we
Make a
don't get
motion to pass
lost.
the first reading.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion would be to pass the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the 390.
Valentine,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
President,
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBrun Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Roman.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tolman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
With your vote, you
Unanimous vote.
approve the transfer for 15C. Back to 6. Minutes of the meeting for October 2nd.
Make a motion to receive?
Motion is to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 7, receivership case study for 193.
Can we take
Sycamore?
7 and 8 as a package?
Second.
Motion is suspend rules, take 7A as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those
Just
opposed?
send them both to
DGNR?
DGR, I guess.
DGR?
All right, so 7 is
Says
a
like-
case study on the receivership program for 193 Sycamore, and then 8 is a list of updates of various locations. Motion is to receive and send to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed?
Can we suspend and take 9 and 10 as a package, please?
We'll
and
suspend
receive-
rules, take up 9 and 10 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 9 is from Economic Development Public Hearing and Minutes of Meetings for August 14th, August 28th, September 11th, September 25th. And 10 is Public Works Sewer Commission Minutes of Meetings. Motion is to
Receive.
receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 11, from Thomas J. O'Connor, various reports, animal calls, returns, budget, activity snapshot.
Motion to receive.
Do you want to go to a committee or just to receive?
Copy to finance, please.
Finance?
Copy to
Motion is
finance.
received, copy to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
11 and 12 is a package.
Second.
11, 12 is,
12 and 13.
12 and
sorry,
13,
12 and
take up
13.
as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 12 is a renewal of a home occupancy for 19 Concord Ave, and 13 is a renewal for home occupation for 7 Line Road.
Motion to receive and grant the renewals pending all municipal
Second.
fees and
Second.
taxes have been paid.
There you go. You have that down, Pat.
All taxes are up to date. Motion is to receive and grant the renewals on both parcels. No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? President's report, I'll be quick. I know Joe is anxious to see the Red Sox. One is an update for the chamber and equipment. I did speak with Scott. They're in the process of updating the equipment, and then I think sometime, it depends on when certain things come in, but November, supposedly switching out everything in here. So we should have new mics and stuff. He has been working hard, it's just been, timing and stuff. So things got delayed. It was supposed to be happening August while we were away on, July and August while we were break, but things got pushed back. But he did email me and said he will get it done by November. Also, as Councilor Bartley pointed out, Rory Casey has given his notice. He's receiving another job. His last date here would be November 16th. We want to thank Rory for his work with the city of Holyoke through the mayor's office as chief of staff and all the stuff that he's done for us, getting us information. Also, Paul Pear from the legal department is leaving. He's leaving on October 29th. He has a job with the state, so I've known Paul for a long time. So he did grab me tonight and said, I want to thank you. You were the one, when the job posting came up, you told me to go for it. I said, no, I told you to run. No, but he's a great guy, just been phenomenal to us, getting us the information and a lot of the work he's done in the legal department. Going to be missed, but we do wish both of them good luck and thank them for everything that they've done for the city. Any updates out there that anyone wants to do? Councilor McGivern?
Bottom of the 7th, Sox 3, Houston 2.
Yeah, I just want to announce because there was supposed to be a meeting tomorrow with from a previous meeting that I had on September 18th with residents regarding issues that they brought up, and I think a petition was presented to us. The meeting has been rescheduled for October 24th at 5 o'clock for those who are watching. And they've been contacted, hopefully, by phone calls that are being made as we speak. Thank you.
Gladys, where?
We're going to this is a walkthrough, so we're going to gather at the park next to the Holyoke Public Library and walk from there and identify areas that they want to address. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else? We'll move on to committee reports of committee. 14A, Committee on Ordinance was referred zone change application for 522 Hamden Street. Recommended that be approved. It's signed off by 3 members.
So motion to pass the first reading?
Second.
Motion be receive, adopt, pass first reading. Under discussion, Councilor Bacon.
The ordinance committee held a public hearing relative to this, as did the planning board. And we, in the course of our public hearing, did receive the recommendation from the planning board, which we took into consideration at that time. We had a unanimous recommendation from them that this zone change be approved, as it was in keeping with the other zones abutting these particular lots. And so from that perspective, the committee found it pretty straightforward, and it's coming to, although there's 3 signatures on the jacket, unanimously from the committee as well.
Anyone else? Councilor Valentin.
I guess I just have a question. I'm an abutter to this. This is by my house. I'm not sure if I should abstain because it quote unquote impacts me. I mean, I'm fine either way. I'm just kind of wondering
No
if.
financial interest.
No.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
No, it's on the record. You're
Okay, so I'm an abutter to this parcel.
Okay.
And I would note there were no objections to the zone change in the public hearing.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion, motion was to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion is that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the change.
Mr. President,
Yep, sorry, yeah.
just one really quick question, because it's not on our ordinance and we did have to change it. Does your legal form actually list the RM20 designation that we
I
have?
added the 20 to the,
Okay, I just
cover.
wanted to make sure that it's recorded somewhere.
It is on the legal form as well as Counselor Bacon putting it on the agenda correctly.
Okay,
So it's
thank
on
you.
both. All right.
catch, though.
Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for. If you vote no, you're voting against.
Valentine,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy. LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Roman. Sullivan,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the zone change. 14, B. Committee on Ordinance was referred an application from Rise Holding, a special permit for 130 Ray Street, approved by the committee with the following conditions, and there are 8 of them. That the owner of the building always pay commercial property taxes to the extent allowed by federal, state, and local law for the duration of the special permit. Number 2, that the business retain a minimum of 30% of Holyoke residents for non-security jobs. 3, that hiring preference be given to security personnel that are retired Holyoke police or retired members of another police department now living in the city of Holyoke. 4, that there shall be no marijuana consumption allowed on the site. 5, that there shall be no deliveries of retail or medical marijuana from the site to individual homes, residents, or people. 6, that hours of operation are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. 7, that the business shall be in compliance with the communication from the city engineer, which is dated 10/4/2018. And number 8, that the business shall be in compliance with all listed communications from the Office of Planning and Economic Development, which was dated 10/9/2018.
Mr. President, relative to the conditions under item 5, retail should really read recreational. And in the public hearing, we also requested of the applicant to provide the sign host agreement. I'm not sure if that's been provided yet. So if I could offer an amendment to the conditions to include those 2 things.
So 5 is the change from retail to recreational. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And then what was the other one, Counselor Bacon?
That the applicant provide a copy of the signed host agreement.
Second.
And that, so number 9 would be the signed host agreement. That was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you. And so the motion is to receive and adopted the amended committee report.
Motion is to receive and adopt the amended report. That's pass. First, it's just to pass it. Yeah, just pass it.
Just
Sorry.
pass.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Do you need a roll call? You need a roll
Roll
call.
call.
So clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for it. If you vote no, you're voting against.
Valentine,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Graney, sorry.
Great. Back?
No, it just comes to my mind still. Leahy,
Yes.
LeBrun Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Roman, Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
How's McDermott doing? McDermott or Soto?
Put your vote, you approved it. 14C.
Thank you, Jack.
Committee on Ordinance referred petition requesting that the city reconfigure Sunset Road. Recommend that the DPW be temporarily implemented.
Recommendation, right.
Recommendation, yeah.
You're right. Motion to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion is to receive and
Second.
adopt the committee report. Under discussion, Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we held a public hearing in response to a petition from the citizens. They filled the hall, and a variety of concerns and ideas were put forth. But the long and the short of it is that this temporary blocking of Sunset and Ashley, which some of you may have seen the notices for, will be taking place on October 24th. It will be effectively closing the 202 end of both Sunset and Ashley temporarily. It will be for a minimum of 2 weeks to see what the impact is. The goal is to stop the cutting through and speeding through the neighborhood. And so it was felt to be advisable to try a temporary fix, because sometimes the unintended effects can be worse than the original problem. So we wanted to take the opportunity, and we will get feedback and come back to the table after this period of experiment or pilot project, if you will, is finished.
Anyone else? Councilor Tallman.
Just a question through the chair. On the temporary fix, is it something like A barrier is going to be there?
There will be Jersey barriers at the end of Sunset and Ashley
Okay, and if there
for
is,
that period of time.
for that period, and if an emergency vehicle has to get in, or they
They
can?
will access from Homestead up through Pinchin, Clayton, or Pearson or Sterling.
Oh, okay, so they'll have to go around, or if they have to get into there for something,
They would probably from Homestead typically go that way,
that way?
but
Station, okay.
depending on, unless they were at the far end of Ashley or Sunset.
And
they
same,
might go
same with the
Homestead
police
And
vehicles,
202.
any police vehicles too, also, will go through that way. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Lisi.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, they're just trying to get some information about how different changes may affect the traffic pattern there. And so it's very much a form of experimentation, get information, see how the traffic patterns are affected, and then take some more permanent action afterwards.
So motion is that the recommendation of the DPW be temporarily implemented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Can we take 14D through G as a package and lay
Second.
them on the table pending legal form?
So 14D, E, F, and G, motion is to take them up as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion would be to, well, they aren't signed, so
Were we
you have to
missing?
sign them to act on them. There's only one signature out of all the committee members.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to table.
So motion would
So-
be that,
So if my two other members will sign them, we can just table them.
yeah. So motion is to table those because we're waiting for legal form on the
So you'll
signs,
sign
that's
it,
all.
right?
There's only one signature. So once those are signed, we'll get them back.
This
We'll-
way, we'll just have them before us and.
Right, they've already been acted on in committee. It's just, we're waiting for legal form, which then is,
Thank
well, we'll table them until we get it.
It's like your high school baseball card, Dave.
I had to earn my trophies. I had to earn my trophies back then. I think a participation trophy. Nothing wrong with participation trophy.
So D, E, F, and G, motion is to table them. All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Finance reports, 15A.
Make a motion to receive and to pass the first reading?
Motion is receive, adopt, pass first reading. This is $4,000 from electrical inspector to electrical inspections. Under discussion, Counselor McGee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tom Sullivan, the electrical inspector, earlier this year left his position. That position is open. It is being advertised for, and the building department anticipates to be able to backfill that position at some time. We had a similar situation with the plumbing inspector and plumbing inspections 2 weeks ago. In the meantime, with one difference is that we have an alternate electrical inspector. That alternate electrical inspector is Tom Leahy. He gets paid per diem, per project, and Damien Cody tells me that he does his best on a monthly basis to do the high priority inspections as he's waiting to fill in the electrical inspector position. The request is $4,000 from this line item that was paying Mr. Sullivan, electrical inspector, to electrical inspections, and it would just be used to pay Mr. Leahy. The committee recommends that we adopt the transfer.
Counselor Leahy will abstain from the vote. Anyone else in our discussion? Pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Valentine?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Bresnahan? Leahy? Oh, sorry, you're abstaining. LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Abstaining.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
Bresnahan, yes. Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 15B, the Committee on Finance has referred in order according to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the city accept the Complete Street Construction Grant, signed off by all councilors, has recommended that be adopted.
Make a motion to receive and to adopt, pass the first reading to adopt the committee's recommendation.
Motion is to receive, adopt, pass first reading under discussion. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mike McManus was before us. We learned a number of things about this grant. One, not most important, but we always ask, is that there is no match to the grant itself. We did talk with him in detail about what he was going to be able to accomplish with it. The amount of grant is, the city applies up to $400,000 in a given period. This period, we're getting $389,819. Mr. McManus did supply the committee, I believe he supplied the whole city council, if he didn't, with a copy of a total of 22 projects. And on that copy, if you have it, if you don't, I'll read them real quick, they're prioritized, are the first 8 projects can be done with this grant. Everybody have a copy? Want me to read through it?
We all have a copy.
Got it. Okay. So if there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer them, but this grant is a godsend for some of these projects have been on our radar for some time, and the Complete Streets project is something that, I think it's relatively new, but it's something that supplements Chapter 90, and we certainly can use it, and these are priority projects within the city.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I just can't say enough about that. I also, the top 8, we're really grateful for what we get on this score, but it's gonna, a lot of these are game changers. So for Hampton Street, for Homestead Ave, so they're real game changers. So most appreciative.
Anyone else? Motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the grant.
Valentine,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan, Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez,
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the grant. 15D.
We could suspend the rules and do 15D and 15E together, Mr. President.
Motion is to take up 15D and E as a package. All those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed?
Quite frankly, there's still more questions than answers. I talked to the auditor, I talked to the fire chief, and they're starting to get on the same page. But there's more items coming in later in the agenda this evening pertaining to the same accounts. I would make a suggestion that we refer both of these back to committee. I'm in the process of setting up a meeting either next week, although the auditor is going to be out of town, so it'll probably be the following Monday if everybody's available on the committee to discuss the number of different items in the fire department budget itself. The answers are there, but without going into the details this evening, I think we need to go into them as an entire package so we all feel comfortable making our final votes.
Make a motion to send 15D and 15E back to Finance Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 15F. Finance to refer an order that the City Council invited Margaret Woods to the Finance Committee to give an update on the middle school project.
We could suspend the rules and take 15F, G, and H together.
Second.
F, G, and H as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So 15F is to invite in Margaret Woods. 15G, communication from the mayor regarding MSBA, and communication from the mayor regarding the middle school projects.
Thank you,
All
Mr.
that
President.
they're complied with.
The motion would be that we adopt the committee reports that these orders, which are letters but are requests that the committee and the city council do something, have been complied with our vote just taking place early this evening on the $390,000.
All right, so the
Second.
motion is that it's been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There's no public safety, no public service. 18 is Development and Government Relations Committee. 18A, Committee on DGNR, to was refer a special permit application for 45 Longwood Ave. Motion that it be approved.
Yeah, motion to receive, adopt the committee report and grant special permit.
Second.
Motion is receive, adopt, grant special permit. Under discussion, Councilor Bartley.
The good news, I'll be brief. The bad news, I left my notes in my computer in my office, so we'll just wing it here. This is for a house at the corner of Longwood and Oakwood. The applicant was in last night along with the city engineer. They both presented themselves very well and effectively. There was no opposition to this from the neighborhood. We had to confirm that. There was debate last night in committee as to whether a special permit is needed. The city engineer confirmed that it is needed. So this is going to be a win for the homeowner. Get a couple cars for off-street parking. It's going to run parallel with an abutter's driveway. The city does not have to cut the curb, so it's really a win for everybody. And I'll answer anybody's questions.
Anyone have any? Councilor McGee.
Just quickly, Mr. President, two things. One is, it was very impressive to hear our new city engineer, Mr. Parent, for the first time, I think for the first time ever, well, since Craig Dolan was the superintendent of DPW, which is 40 years ago, before my time, Councilor Tallman, But I think for the first time ever, we have two engineers in key spots, both Mr. McManus and Mr. Parent. Mr. Parent was right on top of this issue, it may seem, because we saw driveways parking up, jumping up in front of people's homes, new homes that were being built, new homes that were being renovated across the city. And unless there's a really hardship or a need for a driveway in front of your house, a driveway should be on the side or, closer to the back towards the garage. And that's why we adopted this ordinance. But Mr. Parent was on top of it. Councilor Bartley's committee did a good job of handling it. And I think the constituent and the neighbor was very happy with the results.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, sitting on this committee last night, Mr. Parent, I was very impressed with him coming in with the ordinance and with the parking and really gave some good explanation of what was needed that night and showing on the map with Mr. Alvarez where they're going to put the driveway, which works out great right alongside the driveway on Oakwood Avenue. So I have no problems with this at all. And it really does help take a couple cars off the street and very helpful to the neighborhood.
Anyone else? All right, the motion is to grant the special permit. Clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the special permit.
Valentine?
Yes.
Bartley?
Yes.
Bresnahan? Leahy?
Yes.
LeBron Martinez?
Yes.
Lisi?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
McGivern?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Tallman?
Yes.
Bacon?
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
What's your vote? You approve
Mr.
the
President,
special
just a
permit.
point of order.
Yep.
And maybe this is directed to either Madam Clerk or the Law Department. For this special permit, is there a waiting period? Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk said 20 days, so that's what I thought it was. Thank you.
Okay. 18B, Command DGNR was referred.
Oh, Mr.
Yep.
President, can we suspend and take 18B, 18C, 18D, 18F, and 18G as a
Second.
package?
So F and G, you said?
Okay, so B, C, D, F, and G.
Okay.
And then they're all the same thing, but just different property addresses.
All right, so motion is take up those as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 18B is to declare surplus 47 Chapin. 18C, same thing, but it's for, I can find the street,
405, 407 Main.
405 Main. D is for 86 Beach Street. F is for 285 Main Street. And then G is for 229 Beach Street. So these are declaring all those parcels for surplus. Under discussion, Councilor
Motions to receive, adopt the committee report, and grant these surplus property available for disposition.
Motion is to
Second.
Receive and adopt. Under discussion.
Pretty straightforward. We need a 2/3 vote to get these available for disposition. They'll have to come back to us. Grant them surplus, sorry, available for disposition. They'll have to come back to us once the mayor decides which way he's going to go, whether it's going to be an auction. Somebody's going to be auctioned, somebody's going to be RFP'd. And so it'll be positive, I think, just to get them back on tax rolls. Thank you.
All right, so with that, clerk will call the roll. You need a roll call for these, right?
Yep.
Roll call.
Valentine,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approved those items. 18E. Committee from DGNR. The Honorable City Council extend the order approved by the City Council on August 2nd, 2016, which authorized the transfer of properties listed below to the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority for consideration of $1, which would be 501 South Bridge Street, South Bridge Street, Cabot Street, 61 Cabot Street, 163 Sergeant Street, 160 Middlewater Street. Have considered the same, recommended that be adopted.
Motion to receive and adopt the committee report.
Second is receive, adopt the committee report. Our discussion, Councilor Bartley?
Yeah, under discussion, we had Marcos and John from OPED in, as we did for the other, for the previous order. They gave a great presentation. Essentially, what we did in August of 2016, we gave them a two-year sunset. We referred it to, it's almost like the reverted clause that we quite often put in, but this is for a two-year sunset for HRA to get on the stick and get these sold. Well, they didn't. So it's back before us, and Marcos, rightly with Councilor McGivern's suggestion, when the committee agreed, we decided to extend the sunset provision for 5 years to August of 2023. So that gives the HRA a lot more flexibility to dispose of these. I just want to point out one of these is at 163 Sergeant. That's a pretty well-known address. That is the Armory, and right now there isn't a lot of takers for the Armory, but the HRA is applying to the CPA committee for a $150,000 I think pre-development grant to do some due diligence on that property. It's really an icon of Holyoke, and I'm hopeful that can be somehow preserved. And I really appreciate what Councilor Bresnahan said today relative to Lynch School, because that was just, believe it or not, that was just a very hard vote for me, and even though I didn't even go there, but something about historic preservation I think is just important, and we have to do what we can with the buildings that we have, make a good faith effort. So there it is. So 5 years is really the takeaway on this one. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Councilor Tallman?
Yes, just a point of clarification. I think it handles all those properties except for the 160 Middlewater Street. I believe that Marco stated that was already taken care of.
Yes.
Sold. Okay.
Councilor Leahy?
Nothing.
No? Okay.
Grand slam. Grand slam.
All right. So the motion is the recommendation was to grant the extension for 5 years?
That's right. So we previously did it for 2 years, sunset clause. Now it'll be for 5 years, and that'll take us to August of 2023.
Okay, so clerk will call the roll on this one as well for a 5-year extension?
Yes.
Clerk call the roll with regard to that. Thank you.
Valentine.
Yes.
Bartley.
Yes.
Bresnahan.
Yes.
Leahy.
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
McGivern.
Yes.
Sullivan.
No.
Tallman.
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
11 yeas, 1 nay.
But your vote, you're approved.
No, that's wrong. 10 yeas, 1 nay.
Still approved. 18H, the Committee
Can
on
we
Teaching.
suspend, take 18H and I as a package, please?
H and I as a package, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? H is, we refer to order that HRA and HEDIC meet with DGNR to discuss benefits of merging the two entities. Recommend that be complied with. 18I, who was referred, communication that Marcos Romero combine HRA with HEDIC. Recommend that be complied with.
Motions to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion is to
Second.
receive and adopt the committee report. Our discussion?
I am hardly qualified relative to two other counselors here that I'm going to let them, I'm going to turn the mic over to the vice chair of the committee, Councilor Sullivan.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yep, thank you. We had a very good and lively and informative discussion with Marcos Marrero. Actually, Marcos is there wearing 3 hats, both for HEDIC, HRA, and
Planning.
economic development, yeah, ED. But it was disappointing once again that no one except Councilor McGivern was there from HEDIC or HRA. None of the board members were present, or the chairman. This is several times I haven't been able to make it. We're getting a better understanding. Marcos has informed us that in the first quarter of 2019, they are putting on a push to see what they can do. There are some ramifications with the charter of both committees that make it a little bit difficult to throw some legal challenges as far as their charters. The good news is that they are working on some programs where the HEDIC's tools, which is cash, which HEDIC has a lot of, but they don't have any projects in front of them. The HRA will come forward with some projects in the near future. So that was the good news. The order's been complied with. We'll wait until the first quarter is over in 2019 and see what happens.
Anyone else? So the motion is that they have been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There's no charter and rules, no joint committee on schools, motions, orders, and resolutions. 21 from Councilor Bresnahan, that the personnel department respond to the city council within 14 days of this order, demonstrating that the council or the city treasurer has all certification licenses and up-to-date renewals required by federal, state, and local law.
Receive and refer to the Personnel Department with a copy of the Law Department and Public Service.
Motion is receive, send to personnel, law department, and public service. Councilor Lisi?
Just out of curiosity, why don't we just ask the city treasurer directly in this order?
Councilor Bresnahan? Do you want to send a copy there as well?
Well, I would assume that an elected official that really wouldn't be required to answer that question. I mean, I'd be happy to send a copy to
I think sending a copy.
So
Yeah, sure.
motion
I got
is
no
to
problem with that.
receive, send to law, personnel, copy to treasurer, and public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? From Councilor McGee, order that section 4621 corner lots be amended to allow corner lots to erect and maintain a fence when such fence shall have no impact on traffic, visibility, etc. And then there's the citation to the order. Make a motion to send to ordinance.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 23, from Councilor McGee, that DPW trim or remove the tree at 10 Arlington. Make a motion to receive, adopt, and send to DPW.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. President, if I could make a motion to suspend the rules to take up items 24, 25, 26, 27, then 30 and 31. And refer each of those to the Committee on
24,
Finance.
25, 26, 27, 30, and
Red
31 as
Sox,
a
Red
package.
Sox should play every Tuesday.
All those in favor? All opposed? 24 is the Brine grant. 25 is the end of use grant. 26 is the innovation reentry grant. 27 is a transfer from firefighters to deputies. And you said 30 and 31. 30 is $7,761 from firefighters to deputies, and 31 is $12,528 from head clerk, assistant director to several areas. All those to finance?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. President, make a motion to suspend the rules to take up items 28, 29, and 32.
Second.
28, 29, and 32 as a package. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Each of these are transfers for the injured on duty. That means it goes from the appropriate salary account into a salary account for anyone who files an injured on duty, even if it's a very short, it has to be, for accounting purposes, has to be transferred. So these items, each of them are just for that purpose. We've been passing them on the floor in the last handful of meetings.
So 28 is for $9,672.70 from Sergeant Patrolman to injured on duty, of which that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 29 is $7,044.72 to injured on duty. That is for 1, 2, 3, 4. And 32 is for firefighters, $1,969 to injured on duty. That is for 1.
Take a motion to pass the first reading.
Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion would pass the
Pass the second
second reading. Clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfers.
Valentine,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Bresnahan,
Yes.
Leahy,
Yes.
LeBron Martinez.
Yes.
Lisi,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
What's your vote? You approve the transfers. 33 from Counselor Bacon. That sign saying "Do not block the box intercept" be placed at the intersection of Clayton, Pinchon, and Sterling at Homestead Ave.
A motion to receive, adopt, and refer to DPW.
Second.
Motion is to receive, adopt, refer to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 34 from Counselor Bartley. That the Holyoke Police Department set up traffic enforcement at Martin and Lawrence Streets. Please ensure compliance with speed limits at Martin, West Glen, Elmwood, Longwood, Lawler, and Hitchcock Streets.
Yeah,
Please
motion to
ensure.
receive, adopt, refer to public safety, copy HPD.
Motion is to receive, adopt, send to
Second.
copy to HPD. Do you want to go to public safety?
Yes,
Just for
please.
Public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any late files? Oh. 3 late files. Let's see what they are. Late file A is from Counselor Bacon that the proclamation be given in recognition of the 100th birthday for Eleanor Howard, 10/19/1918. Motion would be suspended rules, take up final action tonight.
So
So
moved.
moved.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
those opposed? Motion would be to approve the proclamation for the 100th birthday.
Thank you. There was just a delay in getting it from another office in City Hall, and so I said I'd try to get it done.
No
I
problem.
appreciate it.
So a motion is to approve the proclamation. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? B. From Counselor McGivern, from plumbing inspector, $3,552 and $1,039 from inspections, plumbing and gas, to sick leave, buyback, and vacation.
I'll refer to Committee of Finance.
Second.
So to finance, all those in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? And the last one, this is C. This is from Counselor McGivern, order that the sum of $550,000 be appropriate to pay the cost of Pouliot Pool construction, including the payment of cost, Chapter 44, Section 7, General Law pursuant to any enabling authority. Is this a bond?
Yes, it is, Mr. President. We have this in Finance Committee, but we never had the language. So I asked that we be given the language, and it came in, it's the correct language. There's a couple things that are missing, but if we could refer it to Finance to match it up with the package for Pouliot Pool.
All right, so motion is to send, it's a bond for Pouliot Pool, send it to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There's nothing else. Motion is to
Motion
adjourn.
adjourned.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We stand adjourned.
Oh, it's early.